On this episode, we're diving into how Zalando, the Berlin based fashion e commerce giant, is shaking up the marketing world by using AI generated content and digital models. We'll unpack how their strategy cut campaign timelines from 8 weeks to just 4 days and slash costs by 90% of their marketing visuals. But there's a big caveat here. What does this mean for photographers, studios, and creatives? Are AI models replacing humans or just changing the job? And how can creates actually thrive in this AI powered landscape? We're going to go through all of that. Stay tuned. I'm Daniel,
I'm Matheus.
and this is the Human AI Experience. Before we jump right into the episode, I would like to say that you can support us. If you enjoy what we're doing, you can support us by leaving a review at Apple Podcasts, or you can also join our Patreon. It's free to join. Of course, we have a tier where we're gonna eventually upload some mini guides or some bonus episodes, but it would help us a lot to keep the podcast going. So check the check the Patreon link in the show notes and in the bio. Thank you. So I was reading this article about how Zalando, this big European e-commerce fashion brand, European e-commerce, is using AI to cut their campaign costs. So they operated in 25 different markets in Europe, and they basically started. They have to produce right a lot of materials for their website, and then that needs to be fast because it's a fast fashion uh, kind of business. So things happen really fast in the e-commerce environment as well. So they need to they're already pressured in time to deliver a lot of these things, and now they started introducing AI into the process, and then that basically is helping them speed up their production, right? So they basically started developing AI generated digital twins of the models that they use in their marketing campaigns. So that enabled them to skip traditional photo shoots for many of the campaigns. And what does that mean? Is that they reduced their production costs from 6 to 8 weeks to 3 to 4 days. That's insane. I mean, it's like all of a sudden something that they would take like 2 months to do, they can do it in 4 days. That reduction in time and execution is ridiculous. Like it's impossible not it's impossible not to see the value of this from a brand like that. But of course, that has an impact, right?
That's a bit crazy to think that they're using AI in propaganda and all this cutting costs. Like it's an expressive amount of money that they're saving. And I was listening to a podcast, and then they were discussing how the use of AI is being done and is being spreading all over propaganda, and all this marketing, new marketing. There are some companies that they're using View 3 already, so they're launching videos to make like ads. So there was an ad from a Brazilian uh, carnival style of party, in the northeast of Brazil. So they used all AI generated models and to create like as a short video, like 30-second video, to spread, to invite people to come into their festival and stuff. So it's
Was
pretty much interesting.
Did it look
Uh,
good?
yeah, it looked really good, really good, and the scenario, all this. So it makes a lot of sense for Zalando and for other companies to cut costs, and to make things that they cannot do in a real ad. but it's concerning in the way that, in terms of jobs and in the industry, my need to adapt, and it will be suffering a little bit. I think we can discuss that later, but
Yeah, before we get into what is changing, right? Which is basically how a traditional photo shoot usually works and how many professions are involved within this. We
yeah,
can also talk a little bit about. I mean, I we understand that these big companies, they are also pressured. Like we live in this hyper reactive digital world, right, where attention spans are really have shrunk in time. So people are bombarded with information. There's a lot of noise. So how do you actually go through
yeah,
that? And I understand that there's a need for these companies in order to grow and keep maintain their profits and maintain the business running. They need to adapt fast to these things, and they also need to focus on changing their approaches really fast, right? And you can't do that with traditional photo shoots. So there's a lot of constraints into a lot of these things. Not just the cost. There's an agility or a speed element that needs to be taken into consideration. So I understand why they're like transitioning to that, but there's definitely an impact on a whole industry in so many different levels of doing that. And so maybe let's look into what goes into a traditional photo shoot, right? So traditionally, when you're uh, let's say you have a company and you have a set of products, right, like clothing or like a set of t-shirts, or you have different brands maybe that you sell on your website that you need to, yeah, people need to see other people using those clothes, right? So then what you would you normally do? Would you hire like a production company or an agency or a photographer that will actually have a team of art directors, stylists, hair and makeup, lighting technicians? You sometimes they rent a studio and all the equipment. Sometimes they have the studio as well, like a small studio, depending on the company. Then you have to go and hire models, different models. If your brand demands that you have like a very diverse set of models, you also have to take that into account. So it's not one or two models. You might have four or five, and or even more. Then you have set designers, you have post production people that are going to do editing or photoshopping, and we're only talking about photos now, not production, video production. So this is only photography. Then you also have producers and coordinators. So there's a lot of people. So for a single photo shoot, you might be talking about 6 to 10 people involved per day in editorial campaigns from Zalando's level, because Zalando is also a big brand, right? That can easily we can easily be talking about 15 to 20 people involved in making these photos happen for a set of days, right? And the costs will basically be it could be studio rental gear, traveling for some of these people, catering, insurance of all the photography equipment, like model fees, editing, color grading, etc. So there's like a lot of costs involved and a lot of professionals involved into this photo shoot. So all of a sudden, AI is basically disrupting all of that at once.
yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, um, I was watching another podcast, and then they were discussing about that. There was a guy that he was questioning all the, and he's an actor, so he was like defending his own way of living, let's say, so the whole industry. So he was questioning, what are we gonna do? How many exactly the same positions that you said, like hairstylist, like the models, the people who even take photos. So the photographers itself. So the whole industry might be disrupted, as you mentioned. And he was questioning, we should stop, AI. We should do that, and then, uh, and I totally understand his point of view because it might affect every one of us. But at the same time, it's unstoppable because if one country stops, the other one will continue. For example, so it's something that we cannot touch anymore. It's like something that we just need to adapt and to create a new a new way of living. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but I totally understand you, and I think we've seen disruptions, right? At least since the beginning of the internet, in different ways. But this level of disruption at all at once, I don't think we've seen. This is unprecedented. So, because all of a sudden, let's look at all the competences, right? Photographers are being heavily disrupted, like commercial and e-commerce,
yeah,
like based, right? So photographers also have different specialities. Some are specialized in product photos, or others are in photography models, and so on. Then you have all the photoshopping editors and retouchers. There are a whole industry also doing only Photoshop and retouching, which AI is
yeah,
already changing, right? Then you have all the makeup artists, stylists, and art directors that will actually decide on the clothing. Let's say if your model needs to highlight like some sort of a t-shirt, then somebody needs to decide what is going to wear, what kind of pants is going to wear. This model is going to wear that doesn't disrupt or doesn't take the attention from the t-shirt, for example.
yeah,
Then yeah, you have production coordinators like casting
yeah.
agents,
And I know what
studio
you're saying,
owners.
but everything is done manually, today. So if you think about the tools, for example, Photoshop, they already included an AI generated thing that you can just select what you want, and then you say like, change this hat, for example, for a helmet, and then it will change automatically. So this kind of things, they make everyone's work easy. But of course, as I said, it's disrupting in a way that are taking out a lot of people from the market in the core of the ad creation, in the photo shooting itself. And today, for example, you can just put in a shirt and then a model, and then you set your ChatGPT, just put this shirt in this model, and then it will create for you the exactly model. So I think Zalando is using digital twins, as you mentioned before. So digital twins, they're just a digital copy of the product itself. So it is a process that it might lose the effect in the next couple of, I don't know. I think it's already
What do you
useless
mean?
if you think about,
I,
because if you have the
what do
photo
you
of the
mean?
product,
What do you mean lose? I
because
try
a
try
digital
to.
twin,
Yeah, but what do you mean lose the effect? Because maybe try to reframe it.
I mean, like, because today for a digital twin you need to have a scanner, so you scan all the model, for example. So you need to have the physical product, and then you scan it, and then digitalize it, and then you have a exactly copy of the product. Okay, so with the technology that we already have today, we can just take the take the shirt and then apply in a model, like, quickly, without the need of scanning it and then putting in a person or doing a lot of stuff.
I
You know
think
what I mean?
yeah, it depends on the product, right? A lot of these products are basically already they already have 3D version, right? That it's used.
Yeah,
For example, uh, take a phone, for example. All these phones they have been designed in 3D because they need to send all the specifications for engineers to manufacture and build the parts, right? So they're already 3D generated. So you can, for this kind of stuff, it's really easy. Just to you can just
Yeah,
assemble these parts, or you have the product assembled. You already have a digital twin of it. So depends on
understand.
the product, and I think a lot of clothing as well have been designed on a computer as well. So they probably are already. They don't need to be digitalized. So it
Yeah,
depends,
yeah,
I guess.
yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
People. So just to discuss a little bit about how they are actually doing this. So they did a partnership with a photography agency called ORENT Studios. From it's a photography agency in Berlin that upgraded their services to offer this. So they have the photography background specialization. They have photographers, but they're including in their AI into the mix. So what they're doing basically is selling digital twins of real models. So they're scanning models, hopefully get their license to use their likeness, right? To use their image. God, nobody knows for how long. Hopefully, is a limited use case for the sake of the models, right? Because once you have a digital version of yourself, if you don't have control of that, that can go really. You can do more harm than good. So what they're doing is generating 3D models of this, or 3D replicas or digital twins of these real models, and then they're placing them in different kind of environments. Since once you have a digital version of a person, then you can do whatever, right? And then they're using Zalando's products. They are applying into these models and doing virtual AI photo shoots with this.
it's
So
crazy.
yeah.
Okay, so it's crazier than we thought. Like, so the digital twins are the person itself, like not only the clothing.
Exactly. So that's the difference. That's where they
Wow.
actually, and maybe this is going to become the norm, right? Maybe a lot of photography specialized agencies that offers this kind of service will have to maybe follow this model, or I don't know. There's probably room for different kind of systems, right, and different kind of offerings. But that's at least what they're doing here. And I just want to make just to mention that because they have the expertise, the photography expertise, when applying AI, it's natural to them because they already know how to position a model. So
The
it's important.
lighting,
It's not
the
just AI for the sake of AI or having a model there. No, you need to understand what you're doing, right? So
yeah,
there's the creative part, the human part under behind the scenes, but at the same time, instead of having 20 people, they might have two: the photographer or somebody that specializes into that, and maybe a fashion designer that understands uh, how to build an AI scene with that specification, so it looks like real, right? Or it makes sense within
yeah.
the brand way of expressing itself.
I think we already discussed that with a lot of professionals. For example, Felipe, he had this 3D studio. So he was when he was building an AI film, for him it was easier to just choose the right angles, choose the right characters, positioning in he had this eye of a film director. So for him it's super easy to just go beyond, and use AI to do the same as in the real world, let's say. So I think it applies for the same for photographers and for all the professionals. And so it is a bit concerning because now instead of having a full team, like of 20 people, as you mentioned, you only need two people. So I'm thinking, how can we change? How can we put these people on the market again? And because if you're a model, um, besides of being a digital twin, having a digital twin version of yourself, what can you do? What is your role, your new role?
I I think the problem is not the models. The models.
No.
I think the the models and the photographers and some of these competences will still be relevant because you still need the expertise of a photographer that has years of experience working with models to, let's say, brief AI on how to position these digital versions of these people in a particular scene, right? The models themselves, they probably have a contract. I would assume that they have a contract of, you can use my photo for 1 year, and then you're gonna pay me this amount. And then if you want to use it again, if it's digital, a digital version, you have to renew that contract and use it again. Paying the model for that, right?
Yeah, yeah, but
But the
you
problem
can build
is,
you can build a 3D from any person now. There's some softwares that you just put in some photos, and then you can build a digital twin. So you can create on Mid Journey a character, and then put it on this software, and then you have a digital twin of a character that doesn't exist. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
true.
So you can just get rid of the models somehow, in a short period of time.
That's true.
So that's my
That's true.
concern. Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily work, but it does is at the same time with the celebrities, right? So if you want to use a celebrity, we still have to get their consent, even though if they have a digital version of themselves, which some do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. You can basically get rid of models if you want, and then just use a person that doesn't exist, and then you can create that person the way you want, that fits your
Yeah.
brand in really, really, really fast. That's true. But I'm more concerned with all the other production, the production part of this that will basically vanish, like the makeup artist, the
Yeah.
all um, the studio that basically can be recreated digitally, all the lighting professions that will light up the environment. There's like so many people that will basically won't their skills won't be necessarily translated into a workflow that AI is replacing, right? Because the photographer, for example, if you understand lighting, which I assume most photographers do, you can brief AI to lead up the scene in a different way. You don't need somebody to move a big lamp to actually change the lighting of the scene on top of that model, right? So what's going to happen with these people, right? That's what I'm most concerned with.
I'm just concerned about all these professionals. How can they be put back in the market, or how can they reshape their knowledge into something new?
Yeah, I think that's the big for some of them. I think we have some tips here on for creatives, at least, how to remain relevant with these changes, right? They're mostly focused on photographers and studios, right? We can give some tips on uh, how can you upskill yourself. But there are some of these professions that I don't know. Like we don't know what's going to happen. But this level of disruption, we've never seen it before. Like, from, if you consider that we're talking about from, in big production setups, right? For that we the numbers that we talked in the beginning of the episode, like from 10 to 20, or from 16 to 20 people involved in a production, and you might only need two or three of these. That's a massive disruption. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a huge number of people that are all of a sudden won't. And Hollywood is, I mean, we're not talking. Of course, we're focusing on the fashion part of it and the photography side of it, but Hollywood is already feeling these changes.
Yeah.
Um, I follow some creatives and some producers on TikTok, for example, and then I can see there's a lot of chattering about this kind of disruption also for movie industries, right? Studios being vacant, not being able to have productions happening all the time in LA, for example, struggling to, a lot of professionals that are there to light up, the environments, like struggling to get work, right? So we've seen this happening already, right?
Yeah.
But let's
The
yeah.
they were trying to how can I say, like, to slow down the process. All the artists, they pause all the activities. I think last year, so they were protesting about the AI use and everything. But at the same time, if you think about that, there will be countries and other industries in other places that they will use AI. So they will not have the same concern. So maybe Hollywood will lose their spot, in the world, if you think about it. If other industries will continue to create the things with AI, so it's always this battle, between places. So, and what I think is nice about AI is that anyone can do brilliant job, if you're specialized in something, and then if you know how to use the tool, you can go deeper. So it creates a possibility of, for example, me and you, we can create a whole movie by ourselves, without the budget necessary to do. So I believe it's gonna be a revolution as YouTube, in comparison to the television. When YouTube came, it kind of disrupted all the market. Now we have so many different content on YouTube. I don't watch TV anymore. I just watch YouTube and a lot of podcasts, and really you can go to a niche, so specialized in. So I think the movie industry will be kind of the same, So we have so many different productions and different styles and people doing it.
Hey everyone, we noticed that a lot of people watching on YouTube are not subscribers. So it would help us a lot if you will click on the subscribe button down below. And for those who are listening to this episode, because we're also a podcast and we're everywhere, please leave us a review. It helps a lot to share our content and to multiply the audience. And we really, really appreciate it. It doesn't cost anything, it's free. Please leave us a review. Thank you. Yeah, it's good
Um,
that you brought YouTube as an example because, like, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about that. There's that celebrities are becoming a bit more concerned as well because they are not as like for new generations. Let's talk about Gen X, right? New generations are their celebrities are YouTubers and influencers. Like YouTube already disrupted like what a celebrity mean, right? Like the term celebrity means, right? And a lot of celebrities will kind of transforming they're changing their brand to be more present in podcasts or to be on YouTube where to be more relevant so people can actually have more insights on how they are as a person, right? Things that you can get from influencers and from YouTubers, for example. And so there has been a big shift into the industry as it is, and not just that. Like YouTube also disrupted when YouTube came. Basically, when the smartphone became a thing, and all of a sudden people have professional cameras in their pockets, right? Then it democratized the content production, which was once also uh, only once possible for
big
production
televisions.
companies or big TV conglomerates, right? And I think
Yeah,
now AI is also taking that disruption to another level because
yeah,
in order to make a film these days, you need 1,000 people or like in 6 months of production, right? And AI is gonna bring that cost more or less to zero. And then everybody that has some creative ideas and understands how to execute in a Hollywood level will be able to do that.
yeah.
So it's insane. I mean, for me, it's gonna democratize creativity, and then with that, some new business models will
Will grow.
emerge,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah, and
that's gonna come with a higher cost as well because
yeah,
it's disrupting everything really fast. I think YouTube took a decade maybe to consolidate itself as this video platform, or maybe even more. And
yeah,
AI is just taking. It's not gonna take a decade. It's gonna be half of that.
and I think yeah, definitely it's gonna be faster than we imagine. And I believe the future for people it's to have creative jobs. I think because it's in our nature. Everyone is creative, you know. We are creative beings, you know. Even though some people say like, oh, I'm not creative, but you are. It's just maybe hiding in some spot in your mind, you know. But you are creative as everyone else. So if you think about it, when you have time, we're creatives when we have time, you know. When we have these breakups, you know, like when we sometimes are taking showers, we have some ideas that are like in the bottom of our heads, you know. So we are creative. So I think when we don't have a thing to do, for example, when you don't have work to do, maybe we're gonna become the creatives that will create a movie, you know, or something, or a YouTube channel focus on some subject that I don't know. I think everyone has this side, and maybe when we don't have jobs anymore, or let's say like for example, all these people that are gonna lose their jobs, maybe they will find their way in the creative part of the. You know that's my hope actually. That I'm trying to find a way for them to have a job, you know. So it might be like that. So maybe they will move towards creation and
I think the whole industry is the whole AI industry is pitching that a lot of these jobs um, will be repurposed, right? Or at least if you lose your job, other jobs will be created, right? But the
yeah,
way I'm not that optimistic. I think they're not painting a very realistic picture here because when you look at this case, for example, from Zalando, right? Look at the side. Like, can you? We cannot even grasp what is the impact of the on this when you go from 20 people employed to do a job and all of a sudden you have only two. Maybe out of this 20, maybe four or five will be able to transition and still use their skills with AI. The others, I don't know what's going to happen with the others. And then that's basically 15 people out of 20. That's a major disruption, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. It is. It is.
we cannot close our eyes to that. We need to there needs to be some mechanisms in place to accommodate these people if out of all of a sudden AI just basically take them out of the job market, right? So is it going to be universal basic income? I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I think there's I don't know if it's Germany, but there is a country that they are starting to test this model of basic income, and probably we should do an episode about that because it is quite interesting. They're testing this model now. So yeah, I don't know what it's gonna be in the future, but I do believe it's gonna disrupt all the markets. I can feel that in my market in architecture, one person will be able to do the whole process. You know, I'm already faster using the tools, the new tools. For example, Revit. It's one of the biggest new advancements in the whole process. You know, and it's already 10 times faster than a CAD. You know, so it's so I do believe other softwares and new advancements they're gonna be faster and faster. So we're gonna need less and less people to do the same thing. You know? So one person will do the same as 10 or 20 people, as you said in this example. So what's gonna happen. I don't know. Maybe we're gonna have a lot of small offices, working and competing for the same jobs.
I think, yeah, it maybe in, there's a lot of business today, right? Small and medium business that don't have the budget that Zalando has to have a team of 20 people, right?
Yeah,
So, but you, at the same time, if you have a digital twin, or if you have like all these tools, a lot of these small business will have access to this as well, and they will need guidance from some people that understands how these tools work or understand how a model should be posing with your product and so on, that these people will also benefit. So it also gives access to people that don't, small businesses that don't have that budget today, and they suddenly will be able to do things that they haven't done before to promote their product. So we're still scratching the surface on how this technology is disrupting all of this, and then but at the same time, you know there's a lot of disruption. There will be also other opportunities, and we're going to see people that didn't have access to this technology, or this the possibility of actually creating a campaign with their products with models, will be able to do that. And then we don't know where that business, where that will take that business moving forward, right? So
yeah,
it's really interesting. But I think we're way beyond the time of
yeah,
our episode.
definitely.
So let's focus on maybe some practical advice of what people can do today to remain relevant. And this may be tips for photographers or studios, right? And what they can do besides what we've been preaching in this podcast for the last years, that start using these tools. Um, like there's a lot of tools like Meet Journey, Runway, which is focused on video, that you can learn already. And if you are a photographer, Meet Journey, for example, uses photography terms. So if you understand what kind of lenses you would like for a particular result in a photography session, you can actually tell Meet Journey to the lenses you want, and he is going to replicate that, for example. So if you already have that knowledge, it's much easier for you uh, to operate some of these AI tools, the image generation ones, for example. Um, what else? You can offer AI content generation as a service. So, as a photo shoot, fully generated with AI, generating infinity variants, you can take your brand and rebrand yourself as creative tech consultants. So help clients to blend traditional and AI image generation, um, uh, AI image generation frameworks. You can also create a business about building digital twins. So if this agency is offering models, digital twins models, right, for companies like Zalando, there's definitely a niche and a business opportunity there. So photographers, for example, can now offer to scan models and build 3D avatars as a premium package, for example. So you can do your traditional photo shoot, and then you can also offer that as an add-on, for example. And I think as AI grow and scales, it's gonna shift the focus also to what is actually real, right? Real stories or raw emotion. So there's a lot of things that AI can still replicate, right? So authenticity is one of them. And also maybe your brand can focus on, no, we only do real people and real models, and that's already a differentiator, right? So a lot of brands will try to automatize that and use AI, but maybe as a brand differentiator for your company, you would only want to use human models. And then if you market that well, that can be beneficial for your brand. So just some ideas, throwing some ideas on how people can
Yeah,
actually upskill their their
and
skills.
if I have an additional tip, I think people should understand or should think about having their own company, so study a little bit of business and how to sell or create a company might be important, because I think what we're gonna see is a movement of solopreneurs more and more, because people use a lot of digital tools and AI models to do a lot of different things in the process. Uh, so switching people from for AI models that can replicate the same job. So I think apart from AI model studies, you should study a little bit of business and how to sell your specialization. So this kind of stuff might be useful too.
So I think just as a closing segment, I we could maybe debate a little bit on how what's going to be maybe the long term industry impacts of this, right? I and just one maybe you can give me your thoughts, but I think we're gonna see a ramp up because the you can see that they reduce their marketing or their production budget in 90% by using these digital twin models, right? So it's a huge saving cost for this company. So a lot of people will jump into that wagon and then they're gonna start using a lot of these tools. And I think we're gonna start seeing a lot of standardized aesthetics, like everything will look the same because everything is
Yeah,
kind of AI generated, and then there's going to be we're going to start figuring it out that we're missing something there, and then I think there will be
a gap
maybe
for
some
innovation.
companies will some companies will revert back and then start like looking into how they can actually give or have a differentiator, right? How they can position themselves differently while everybody's is kind of doing AI generated things. That's the way I see this. We're gonna see this change happening, and then hopefully people will realize that this is not the way to go. Okay, we reached the end of our episode. Thanks for joining in. See you next week. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It's free and helps us a lot. This way, it can help us also reach new listeners. Oh, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to stay up to date on our latest episodes. If you have any questions for us, reach out to us at hello@humanaixp.com or connect with us on Instagram. Thanks for listening. See you next week.